Welcome to Mayhem Pokemon, where questionable Pokemon meet questionable trainers. For this week, we're jamming post-rotation Pokemon to see the big winners from Scarlet and Violet. With that being said, let's check out the pod today. First, we have Lincoln on Giratina VSTAR, a Lost Zone deck that utilizes the Comfy engine to unleash powerful attacks from Giratina VSTAR and Cramorant, and Connor on Rapid Strike Smackdown, a Rapid Strike deck that seeks to utilize the Inteleon VMAX engine to wear down Pokemon, use Medicham V to get extra turns, and Gale Thrust for big damage. And now, with each pilot in their respective corner of the screen, let us begin. And for those of you in the Ames area, stick around to find out how you can get 10% off your next Mayhem Ames purchase. Connor flips Inteleon V and Lincoln flips Radiant Greninja. Connor draws and plays a Nest Ball, fetching up a Remoraid to his bench. He plays a Rapid Strike Urshifu V to his bench, attaches Rapid Strike Energy to Inteleon, and passes. Lincoln draws and plays 3 Battle VIP passes and a Nest Ball, fetching up 2 Comfy, Manaphy, Drapion V, and Giratina V to his bench. He plays Colress's Research, looking at the top 5, putting 3 to his hand, the rest of the Lost Zone, and activates Radiant Greninja, discarding an energy to draw 2. He plays Switch, switching Radiant Greninja for Drapion V, equips a Psychic Energy to Drapion V, and attacks Inteleon V with Dynamic Tail, putting 6 damage counters on Drapion V. Inteleon gains 19 damage counters, and the turn moves to Connor. Connor draws, plays Tower of Waters, and plays Professor's Research, discarding his hand and drawing 7. He evolves Remoraid into Octillery, evolves Rapid Strike Urshifu V into Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, and activates Octillery, fetching up a Rapid Strike Energy. He plays Capturing Aroma, flipping Tails and failing to find, attaches Rapid Strike Energy to Urshifu VMAX, plays Radiant Alakazam to the bench, evolves Inteleon V into Inteleon VMAX, and activates it, discarding a Water Energy to put 2 damage counters on Manaphy and Drapion V. He retreats Inteleon VMAX for Urshifu VMAX and attacks Drapion V with Gale Thrust. Drapion V is knocked out, Lincoln moves Comfy to active, Connor takes 2 prize cards, and the turn moves to Lincoln. Lincoln draws and activates Comfy, looking at the top 2, putting 1 into his hand, the other to the Lost Zone, and plays Colress's Experiment, looking at the top 5, putting 3 into his hand, and the rest into the Lost Zone. He attaches a Psychic Energy to Comfy, switches Comfy for Comfy, and activates Comfy, looking at the top 2, putting 1 into his hand, and the other to the Lost Zone. He activates Radiant Greninja, discarding an energy to draw 2, plays another Comfy to the bench, and Escape Rope, with Connor switching Urshifu VMAX for Octillery, and Lincoln switching Comfy for Comfy. He activates Comfy, looking at the top 2, putting 1 into his hand, the other to the Lost Zone, evolves Giratina V into Giratina VSTAR, and plays 2 Mirage Gates, fetching up 2 Water Energy and a Grass Energy, and attaching them to Radiant Greninja. Lincoln passes. Connor draws and activates Inteleon VMAX, discarding a Water Energy to put 2 damage counters on Manaphy and Radiant Greninja, and activates Octillery, fetching up a Rapid Strike Energy. He plays Ultra Ball, discarding 2, fetching up a Medicham V to the bench, plays Cheryl, healing all damage from Inteleon VMAX and discarding all energy attached, switches Octillery for Medicham V, and attacks with Yoga Loop, putting 2 damage counters on Manaphy, knocking it out. Connor takes a prize card and moves to his extra turn. Connor draws and plays a Hisuian Heavy Ball, looking at his prize cards, failing to find, and shuffling. He activates Octillery, fetching up a Karina's Focus, plays Switch, switching Medicham V for Urshifu VMAX, and plays Karina's Focus, drawing to 6. He plays a Nest Ball, fetching up an Inteleon V to his bench, and attacks Comfy with Gale Thrust. Comfy is knocked out, Lincoln moves Comfy to active, Connor takes a prize card, and the turn moves to Lincoln. Lincoln draws, puts Cramorant to bench, and activates Comfy, looking at the top 2, putting 1 into his hand, the other to the Lost Zone, and plays Colress's Experiment, looking at the top 5, putting 3 to his hand, and the rest to the Lost Zone. He plays Temple of Sinnoh, a switch card, switching Comfy for Radiant Greninja, and attacks with Moonlight Shuriken, discarding 2 energy, dealing 9 damage counters to Radiant Alakazam and Octillery. Lincoln passes. Connor draws, plays Tower of Waters, attaches a Water Energy to Urshifu VMAX, and attacks with G-Max Rapid Flow, dealing 12 damage counters to Radiant Greninja and Comfy. With this, both are knocked out, Connor takes 2 prize cards, Lincoln sees the writing on the wall, and Connor wins the game. Lincoln flips Comfy and Connor flips Inteleon V. Lincoln draws, puts a Comfy to the bench, and plays Battle VIP Pass, fetching up a Cramorant and Giratina V to the bench. He activates Comfy, looking at the top 2, putting 1 into his hand, the other to the Lost Zone, attaches a Psychic Energy to Comfy, retreats Comfy for Comfy, and activates Comfy, looking at the top 2, putting 1 into his hand, the other to the Lost Zone. Lincoln passes. Connor draws and plays Lumineon V to the bench, fetching up and playing Irida, fetching up an Inteleon V and Battle VIP Pass. He plays Inteleon V to the bench and follows it up with Battle VIP Pass, fetching up another Inteleon V and Remoraid to the bench. He attaches a Water Energy to a bench Inteleon V and passes. Lincoln draws and activates Comfy, looking at the top two, putting one to his hand, the other to the Lost Zone, plays Manaphy to the bench, evolves Giratina V into Giratina VSTAR, and discards 2 cards to play Ultra Ball, fetching up a Giratina V to the bench. He plays Clara, returning Psychic Energy from his discard to his hand, attaches it to Comfy, retreats Comfy for Comfy, and activates Comfy, looking at the top two, putting one into his hand, the other to the Lost Zone, and passes. Connor draws, plays Tower of Waters, and activates Inteleon VMAX, discarding a Water Energy to put 2 damage counters on Manaphy and a benched Comfy, attaches a Water Energy to Inteleon VMAX, attaches Forest Seal Stone to his benched Inteleon V, and activates V-Star Alchemy, fetching up a Professor's Research. He plays Professor's Research, discarding his hand and drawing 7, evolves Remoraid into Octillery, and activates Octillery, fetching up an Inteleon VMAX. He evolves his active Inteleon V into Inteleon VMAX and activates it, discarding a Water Energy and putting 2 damage counters on Manaphy and the benched Comfy. He retreats Inteleon VMAX for Inteleon VMAX and attacks with GMAX Spiral, returning an attached Water Energy to his hand. Comfy is knocked out, Lincoln moves Comfy to active, Connor takes a prize card, and passes. Lincoln draws and activates Comfy, looking at the top two, putting one into his hand, the other to the Lost Zone, plays Path to the Peak, and passes. Connor draws and activates Inteleon VMAX, discarding a Water Energy to put 2 damage counters on Giratina V and Manaphy. He follows it up with Melanie, attaching a Water Energy from his graveyard to Inteleon VMAX and drawing 3 cards, and Nest Ball, fetching up a Medicham V to his bench. He activates Octillery, fetching up and playing a Tower of Waters, evolves Inteleon V into Inteleon VMAX, equips Rapid Strike Energy to Medicham V, and activates Inteleon VMAX, discarding a Water Energy to put 2 damage counters on both Giratina Vs. He retreats Inteleon VMAX for Medicham V and attacks with Yoga Loop, putting 2 damage counters on Manaphy. Manaphy is knocked out, Connor takes a prize card and moves to his extra turn. Connor draws and plays Clara, returning 2 Water Energy from his discard to his hand, activates Inteleon VMAX, putting 2 damage counters on both Giratina Vs, activates another Inteleon VMAX, putting 2 damage counters on both Giratina Vs, and activates Octillery, fetching up a Rapid Strike Energy. He attaches it to Inteleon VMAX, retreats Medicham V for Inteleon VMAX, and attacks with GMAX Spiral, returning an attached Water Energy to his hand. Comfy is knocked out, Lincoln moves Cramorant to active, Connor takes a prize card, and passes. Lincoln draws, plays Comfy to the bench, attaches a Grass Energy to Cramorant, retreats Cramorant for Comfy, and activates Comfy, looking at the top two, putting one into his hand, the other to the Lost Zone, evolves Giratina V into Giratina VSTAR, and passes. Connor draws, attaches a Water Energy to Inteleon VMAX, and attacks with GMAX Spiral, returning an attached Water Energy to his hand. Comfy is knocked out, Lincoln moves Cramorant to active, Connor takes a prize card, and the turn moves to Lincoln. Lincoln draws, plays Energy Recycler, shuffling a Grass and Psychic Energy into his deck, and attacks with Spit Innocently. Inteleon VMAX gains 11 damage counters, and Lincoln passes. Connor draws and activates Inteleon VMAX, putting 2 damage counters on both Giratina V-Stars, and plays Boss's Orders, switching Cramorant for Giratina V-Star. He attaches Rapid Strike Energy to a benched Inteleon VMAX, retreats Inteleon VMAX for Inteleon VMAX, and attacks with GMAX Spiral, returning Rapid Strike Energy to his hand. Giratina V-Star gains 14 damage counters, and Connor passes. Lincoln draws, plays Switch, switching Giratina V-Star for Cramorant, and attacks with Spit Innocently. Inteleon VMAX gains 11 damage counters, and the turn moves back to Connor. Connor draws and plays Cheryl, healing all damage from both Inteleon VMAX, discarding all energy attached to them. He attaches Rapid Strike Energy to his active Inteleon VMAX and attacks with GMAX Spiral, returning an attached Rapid Strike Energy to his hand. Cramorant is knocked out, Lincoln moves Giratina V-Star to active, Connor takes a prize card, and the turn moves to Lincoln. Lincoln draws, attaches a Psychic Energy to his active Giratina V-Star, plays Beach Court, and...
That's cool. Okay. He sees the writing on the wall.
Doing my job for me, Lincoln concedes, and Connor wins the match. For those of you in the Ames area who stuck around, come to Mayhem Comics in Ames this week and ask for the YouTube discount. You'll be asked the question, who won? Answer correctly and get 10% off your purchase. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to catch future videos, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.